ब्रह्मादिभ्यो ब्रह्मविद्या संप्रदाय कर्तृभ्यो वंश ऋषिभ्यो महद्भ्यो नमो गुरुभ्यः सर्वोपप्लवरहितः प्रज्ञानघनः प्रत्यगर्थो ब्रह्मैवाहमस्मि ओम शांति शांति शांति। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेद विभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ओम। Venerable co-chair and all bhikshus, my pranam to all of you and my namaste to the learned audience in the hall. I would like to pick up the thread where Dr. Srinivasan and our co-chair left it. It is not simply the problem with the science and technology. To address a given problem or to find a solution, we need to understand problem thoroughly. One thought got institutionalized. One new definition of growth got institutionalized in last century. Abundance for everybody. Science with the help of technology or technology with the help of science created abundance for the society. Not only the society adopted the definition, nations also adopted the definition of growth as having abundance. Look at the shift, especially I can say from the Indian point of view. Many of us before 20-30 years didn't know what is a Bombay Stock Exchange Index even. What is the Tokyo Stock Exchange? We never knew. In fact, when I was young, the person who is a share broker was considered to be gambler. That is how they looked at it. The performance of the government today all over the world is measured on the basis of the stock exchange index. Media protects that. Nobody talks about the health index of the country. Nobody talks about the education index of the country. Nobody talks about law and order index of the country. This concept of thought, when this concept got institutionalized, that growth is nothing but economic growth. And this abundance and economic growth also created a side effect. A new thought came to the society that we have to consume more. It has a basis in the theology that man is primarily created as a reflection, and what he said, they give a different interpretation. But then creation is for man's consumption. The problem basically lies because we have created a consumerist society. You will be surprised if you read the paper submitted by Sri Guru Murti ji. The slowdown of European Union recovered because individual consumption rose. The best economy or the developed economy is US because there is a maximum consumption. Not only abundance, but abundance with consumption. And therefore we have created a society of waste. Tremendous waste. Use and throw society. As per one estimate, it is mentioned in the paper itself, the Britain country itself per year waste collectively 30 billions of clothings. This unnecessary use of the resources, the wastage of resources has caused this problem that mentality has to change. new power centers have come. State is the power center, but the economic power centers have come because of this abundance and consumerist. The economic power centers now govern or push government policies. They decide the diplomacy and they decide the war. This is the world that we have come to live in. And the last means the capitalist and consumerist model has today threatened the world. And very aptly mentioned by Sri Guru Murti Ji on the first day, tiger protects the earth and earth protects the tiger. I would correct that sentence little more. Earth is not in danger. We are in danger, therefore we want to protect her. That is why we have become sensitive. So, and one more thing also we should acknowledge. I am not against the technology and economic growth. As Dr. Srinivasan mentioned, India and China, Asian countries contributed to world GDP almost 50%. And this is because of that growth we are sitting here. We have AC, we could travel by air, etc. But then, as they mention, as it is said in economic terms, standard of living has risen. That is the bottom line. And what my co-chair, Venerable Lamaji said, the problems in Russia which he enumerated is global. Not only the problem, the standard of living has risen, but the standard of life is deteriorating. The beauty we had, the heritage we had, it is not only that India was rich in terms of resources and wealth. The British have already written, forget about the Chinese travelers. The prosperity was there, but the growth was holistic. The standard of life also was so high. Even the person who changed our whole educational system, he also mentioned that the whole world is to learn to live how the Indian society is living, in terms of common ethical values, social values, national values. That means the growth has taken place partial. For the holistic growth, we have to grow individual. The culture has to be man-centric. It is not economic-centric culture will help the earth. We have to have man-centric culture. First, the individual grows. As one of the speakers said, it has to be inside-out growth first. Then only the benefits of so-called growth will be available to humanity. And in absence of this, pardon me for saying this, we have created a society of looters and grabbers. And Americans are very smart in giving the name. Takeover, merger. It is no takeover, merger, it is looting away. It is just aggrandizing with what I have. I should have maximum. New values have come. Every now and then we read in the newspaper, the richest man of India, the richest person of the world, Fortune 500 list, blah, blah, blah. But nobody talks the highest giver in the world. Nobody talks about the contributor to the humanity who did good work. That somehow is not mentioned. And this thing alone, the cultural shift, the thinking shift, we can have globally through religion only. Our religion, Vedas never said, it was never a religion where it said the man is entitled to exploit the nature for his consumption. No. It never talked about exploiting animals, vegetations and whole earth. It always considered that the man is an integral part of the whole universe. And in Vedas it is said the best creation and the person on the top has maximum responsibility. He has to have maximum restraint. The power always goes with restraint. And that is what restraint is taught us. And that restraint, in our Nirukta, the definition of dharma is, or manava, the definition of manava is, one with Maryada. That's all bottom line Indian religions and it taught us. And that is how we have these prayers. The whole thing is so interwoven in culture. Sarve bhavantu sukhina, etc. Few things Swami Nirmalanji mentioned. Even for the ant, you go to villages, you will find in India people putting some grains and things like that in the garden for ants and insects. You go to south of India, every house will have some rangoli, what they call it, kolam. In north they use chemicals, but they make sure that it is made of the rice because those insects get food out of it. That sarve bhavantu sukhinaha, and that sensitivity to culture, sensitivity to the whole nature can be developed or is imparted to the humanity. It is interwoven in culture because all of us have only religious culture. Whether you go to Cambodia, whether you go to Vietnam or go to Sri Lanka, all Buddhist country in Indian country, there is no secular culture. It is all religious. Every custom is religious. And that being a case, the solution to the whole problem is, as Professor rightly said, Dr. Srinivasanji, we have to change the mindset. Every individual has to change. They have been talking of development. And I said the new name, one of the speakers today mentioned, they still talk of development. For last 20 years they are talking of the problems, but they don't want to address the original problem. Now they have coined a new word, sustainable development. They want to continue in the name of sustainability. Unless we give every citizen the divinity towards the nature, that attitudinal change, then only there can be holistic and sustainable development. Both these religions, or I can say all the religions that emanated in India, whether it is Jainism or Buddhism or Sikh, all of them talk of human growth first, and they also talk of economic growth. But then economic growth without a dharma, without any kind of restraint, will be destructive. As my teacher would always use a word, we have to transform humanity from consumer to contributor. And to be a contributor, it requires certain inner strength. To give out, it requires certain inner strength. Only the strong, who is strong within, can give and share, not the weaklings and insecure. Now, because of this consumption, overconsumption, society of West, one of the definition of ahimsa in our Shastra is mentioned, just not hurting is not ahimsa, wasting is also ahimsa. You have right to take from nature whatever you require, but you have no right to waste. And that is the ultimate doctrine. Therefore, in Indian origin tradition, the ultimate goal called sannyasa or bhikkhutam, whatever it is, a sadhu lives a life of bare minimum. Sadhu lives a life of least consumption. And look at our culture. We never respected the person with power. We never ever had a respect for the person who has a lot of wealth. These cultures which are based on religion, either Hindu, Buddhist, Jain, whatever, highest respect is given to the one who gives up everything, who has done tyaga, and who lives a life for the whole society and humanity. Therefore, kings and the rich men used to respect the sadhu in any tradition. This value has to be inculcated, and for that, this initiative is an excellent initiative. Very rightly, one of the speakers said, who will listen to us? True, they are not listening to us. I care hell or I don't care for you. I managed to get invitation in G8 summit on behalf of Acharya Sabha. Our government, previous government didn't support. G8 is before that, the Interfaith Summit. They decide G8 policies. Only Christians and Jews were invited out so far, and few Muslims. Sheikhs came from Middle East. They didn't bother whatever they talk. Sheikhs were in their own world. And they decided, and this time I barged in. We two, Acharya Sabha, two Swamis went, and I raised an issue of human rights. And I raised, you have right to have your freedom of religion, but you have no right to convert. I raised very sophisticatedly. Next time they didn't invite us. One satyam we should know. There is a beautiful shloka in Sanskrit. Simho naivo gajo naiva, vyagro naiva cha naiva cha, ajaputram balim didhyat, daivo durlabha bhakshaka. When some sacrifice is to be done, they don't catch lion. They don't sacrifice tiger. They don't sacrifice elephant. They sacrifice goat. So if you are weak, you will be sacrificed. When we talk of inside out, we have to gain strength. And for so-called, as my Swamiji would say, the predator religions who are on go to convert and evangelize people, we too are the last victims left out today. In the whole world, all aboriginal religions are gone. We are too left out, and so we have to join hands and develop the strength and tell them on the face. That you tell them on the face, very rightly said by yesterday, our Prime Minister mentioned about it. And of course, the name that is given is Samvad. We have to have dialogue and question their theological principles on the face and make it public. That awareness, if we create, thereby there will be ecological awareness. Otherwise, this thinking, everything is good, Ishwar Allah, Tero Naam, Sabko Sanmati De Bhagavan. We already have Sanmati, they need Sanmati. We don't need Sanmati. This thinking, and I said, how do you have right to kill? See, the whole problem, this ecologically we are talking environment, there is religious and socio-environment problems. Forget about Mother Earth. This is important, and that causes this problem. What is that problem? All these theologies have double standard in their values. In summarizing today's sessions, most of the speakers talk about human life, human growth. They talk about Maitri, Vinaya, compassion, Ahimsa. All these values are universal. Nobody likes to get hurt. No one, irrespective of religion, caste, age, whatever it is. I don't want you to hurt me, and I should not hurt you. The mutual behavioral expectation is the basis for universal values. All these religions have double standards in values. If you kill after hours, then it is wrong. But if you kill somebody non-faithful, Allah will be happy. This is double standards. We have to question these head on. We have to challenge them head on, and therefore we need to unite together. It is very much necessary. People are talking through, we may take up a project or so, but we have to position ourselves globally. And I am, maybe my personal view, but I am happy that India is in a position to do, with the able Prime Minister supporting and understanding this, economic growth will not happen. He wants that holistic growth. And therefore, it's a good dialogue it has begun, and I request what our friend said about avoiding each other. In fact, it is not, you put my words in your mouth. When I looked at the delegation and saw, I found we are in minorities, only 3 of us, and you are in many. I just had in mind to suggest our organizers, which you put in, that there should be some more Hindu leaders, and as Acharya Sabha Secretary, I would be coordinating. I'm willing to do that. It's not a matter of avoiding you.
I think there's more Hindus, but they're not properly dressed.
No, I think Hindus are in majority, but there are no Hindu sadhus available here to you.
That's correct. That's correct.
And unfortunately, I mean, maybe I don't know what's the reason, but Govind Dev Ji had his some prior commitment, otherwise he might have got intimation later. And Nirmalanath Ji was here right up to it. He took my permission to leave because something came up, and I stick on, in spite of have some pressure and problems, which he knows, Guru Murti knows. I'm supposed to leave, but to avoid this comment, I stayed back. Okay, so take it from me. There are Hindus available, and last, just summarizing, the sustainable growth is possible. What all other speakers mentioned, it is only possible when people developed a sense of divinity for the whole earth, and not only earth, every living being. That attitude of divinity, attitude of ahimsa leads to compassion. You cannot be compassionate without ahimsa. You cannot be compassionate without seeing the divinity all around. And as our Shastra says, Atma is nothing but embodiment of compassion, and that inner development which was emphasized, that message we need to take to the world. And the word that has been given, Samvada, technically Samvada in Sanskrit is meaning that is between a dialogue between a teacher and a student. Guru Shishya Samvada. As famous statement, many of you know, at the end of every chapter of Bhagavad Gita we hear or we chant Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvada. For a dialogue, the word is Vada. There are 4 ways of communication in our Shastras mentioned: Jalpa, Vitanda, Vada and Samvada. Jalpa and Vedanta, which generally I see in all such interfaith religious conference, I am always right, that they don't want to listen what you are. And another one is, you are always wrong. That is Jalpa and Vedanta. But we need to have Vada. We need to have dialogue with them. And I hope with the dialogue, they will come back to learn from us what is a holistic growth, what is a total growth. Therefore, the name Samvada has been given. We have to position ourselves. We have to strategize ourselves. And as you express the hope, India should take the leadership. And in this century, or for that any matter, as quite often Chanakya has mentioned, without the support of Rajya Satta, you cannot have much growth or speed. We have the support of Rajya Satta, and few thinking people, institutions like Vivekananda, Kendra, etc., are working on it. So I request on behalf of Hindu leaders, I request on behalf of Hindu acharyas to our Buddhist counterpart. I know our traditions involves lot of tapas and japa and introvertedness and certain vows. And when you take up to this cause, you have to make certain adjustment, spare some time, and you have to act little faster. So all these monks, I expect them and I request you to find such more time for such causes. It involves leaving your religious practice and some mathas and some institutional work, but I think, as we call it, is a naimittika dharma, that the demand of the time requires that we keep certain things aside and spare some time and involve ourselves in terms of our wisdom and in terms of our time, and of course, should you have resources, as you mentioned, in terms of resources as well, and I'm sure, I'm hopeful we'll be able to make up and come teach the world right way of growth. Namaste and thank you very much.